Welcome to the new Cyber Frontier, bringing you the latest news on the local Colorado economy and initiatives that focus on the development of cybersecurity economics. You don't have to be a computer or cybersecurity expert to get plugged in. Your host, Chris Gorog, brings it straightforward, asks the tough questions, and brings the cyber world to a level of understanding for everyone. Chris is personable and opens up with our guests on issues we all would like to see addressed. You can find us on the web at www.newcyberfrontier.com. Now join our host as he introduces the topic for today's new Cyber Frontier.
All right, my name is Andre Hinton and I'm here with a new Cyber Frontier. I'm filling in for Abe Thompson and Chris Gorog today. I appreciate the opportunity. We're here at Secure Set, and we really give a big shout out to Secure Set for letting us use their facility. It's an amazing facility, great place. And we're here today with Lieutenant John Johnson of the Air Force Academy. And he's here right now as a cyber outreach officer and really looking to get more people involved and interested in cyber in the Air Force and maybe joining forces with the Air Force. Without further ado, we'll hear from you, John. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and the organization, that of course is the Air Force, but a little bit about what you're here to do and what you're here to represent, and just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. So what I do is basically look for people who already have a little bit of a technical background in cyber and try to get them into the officer career field in the Air Force, because we need people with those skills to be the ones making decisions. And knowing how to set our operational policies, being on keyboard sometimes to, do those things where we're protecting the nation, and really have good skills for, one, being able to carry out cyber operations, and two, lead others in it. So I'm just going around trying to find people who are interested in that, who would be really good candidates, get them into the career field one way or another, and hopefully set up the Air Force for a better future in cyberspace.
Sweet. So are you looking for more like high school, or are you looking for more people that are just out here who are just like, you know what, I don't know what I want to do. There are people who maybe graduate high school out here in limbo and just still staying with mom and dad and still looking for something to get into. Maybe they have an interest, maybe they have a skill set. Are you looking for any particular demographic, or are you looking for just anyone who's interested?
So anyone who's interested, I would definitely love to share with them the opportunities that there are to get into the Air Force, because it doesn't end once you graduate high school. There are certainly ways to get in later through the enlisted career field, that side of the house, as well as some commissioning opportunities through the reserves, the Guard, things like that. But what I am specifically looking at is to try to find high schoolers who have been interested in cyber through either their school or summer camps, things like that, and try to get them into the academy, because we feel that there's a lot of opportunities at the academy to learn and build on those technical skills that maybe they already have, so that when they commission, 22 years old or so, they're ready to go into that career field at a very early age and able to have a long career where they're using those skills. So
I'm glad you're out here doing that, because we need more. And I think in those schoolrooms and in high school are solutions that we haven't even really tapped into, right? We're continuously in cyber, and you'll hear me say this all the time. A lot of people have heard me say we're really fighting this cyber battle, continuously doing the same things over and over, expecting different results. And a lot of the new, I think, blind spots are in the minds of a lot of those people like yourself, and then like those students that are still in high school that go, you know what, you haven't tried this, and we're like, whoa, I never thought about it, right? And so I think you're spot on by looking for new talent. What are you mentioned skills that you're looking for from high school students? Let's talk a little bit about more specifically what kind of and you don't have to go into detail, but on a broad spectrum, what skills are you looking for? If you were to go out tomorrow and your ideal skill sets, and you saw these people out there and they had exactly what you were looking for, what would they be?
So honestly, the number one thing that I like to see is just an interest in it, because anything that you love doing is something that's just gonna it's gonna come a little bit easier to you, and you'll be willing to devote a lot of time to it. And I think that was one of the best things that I learned at the academy, was just, you got to put time into what you love to be able to get better at it. And so if kids are going to summer cyber camps, outside of school, then that's a pretty good sign that they're going to want to continue that path, and they'll be willing to put in a lot of time to improve their skills in the future.
Okay, 1 second on that note. We're going to take a minute to go to our sponsor.
We'll be right back with the rest of today's show right after these brief messages from our sponsors. Cyber Resilience Institute helps build strong cyber communities designed to prevent members from attack. Like building a neighborhood watch, it takes coordination and a sharing community to protect our identities and valuables in the virtual world. Typically, we hear that organizations know they need to do something to protect their cyber assets, but don't know where to begin. Let Cyber Resilience Institute help your community create an action plan. Cyber Resilience Institute will build your community or business marketplace so that it is designed to support a collective cyber defense. Contact them for more information at cyberresilienceinstitute.org.
Okay, we're back here with New Cyber Frontier, and we're here with Lieutenant John Johnson, and we're here at SecureSet. Just want to say thank you to SecureSet for allowing us to use their beautiful facility here to record and bring you the best in cybersecurity. And once again, we're here with Lieutenant John Johnson. The last topic we were talking about is things you'd like to see, and one of the things you mentioned is just an interest and people who want to do this. What are some of the other things outside of that you'd like to see? Is it just like they can type fast, or what are some of the things that you'd like to see in terms of a good candidate?
Right. So programming is always really good.
Okay.
And any use with different operating systems. So having a good knowledge of Windows and being able to maybe any kind of security skills for setting rules on that, or any kind of networking skills would be really, really good. Just really any different part of something that could play into cybersecurity. So maybe they've worked with hardware before. I mean, you hear those stories all the time of kids who just tore their computer apart because they wanted to learn more about it. So that's someone who has an interest and some knowledge of, some good skills right there.
All right, I like that. Yeah, people who really have the interest are people who are going to stick with it too. You want people who really love what they do, and if they love it, they're going to continue to press forward in it, right? And they'll have great, long, illustrious careers.
Exactly.
So with that said, tell us a little bit about your own cybersecurity, why you chose, number one, this field. Number two, like maybe some of the challenges you've even faced you personally with cyber. And then we'll go into kind of like, tell us what you think moving forward that you'd like to see as maybe some solutions to those challenges that we're facing and that you've seen.
Definitely. So I didn't really get into anything like this until my senior year of high school. I took one programming course and I found out that I really enjoyed it. So coming to the academy, I actually wanted to be an aeronautical engineer and learn how to design airplanes. And when I was there, taking my introductory computer science course, I just realized that, wow, I felt that it gave me an opportunity to be really creative with programming different things, and a lot of problem solving went into it. So that was what kind of got me into computers. And then there is the cyber competition team up at the academy, which goes around and competes in cyber, which is something I didn't know you could do until I got there. But I just joined the team and got into a couple of those competitions and realized that, wow, the cybersecurity side is even more fun. So then I just pursued that path, going down our two majors that we have there for computer science as well as computer and network security, and spending my free time learning about cybersecurity, taking advantage of some of the programs to learn during spring break and summer and things like that. So I guess one of the problems that I noticed kind of early on is that there's not a lot of barrier to entry. I mean, I just learned in a couple of years, so as far as the landscape for what it looks in how it looks in cyberspace is, anyone can get into it, and you hope that they're building towards something good, but there's also a lot of people who get into it for bad reasons. And so because of that low barrier to entry, I mean, you realize that just the number of people out there, you see all the scams and stuff online, and it's a real big problem. And because everyone is, on the internet right now, there's a lot of opportunity to kind of get yourself in trouble, I guess. And so I think going forward, I mean, there's a lot of different people out there who are coming up with solutions to try and find people who are, doing the wrong thing on the internet. But it's a humongous problem. So I'm not sure I could, there's not one good solution, but that's just trying to get more people into cybersecurity is how I think we get towards fixing that problem.
So me personally, I'm a professor over at CTU, Colorado Technical University, and so I teach cybersecurity. I'm also in the industry. I work in the industry as well. And I've been a victim of cybersecurity attacks, right? I've been a victim of identity theft, more specifically too, and I don't know, you may not be old enough to have been a victim of OPM, to have your data taken. Have you ever had an email saying, hey, your data was compromised?
Yeah, that was my very first year, yes.
Really?
It was pretty early on.
All right. So yeah, you've actually been a victim as well as many of us in the armed forces have been. Me more specifically, I was also a victim of identity theft. Someone got my social security number, applied for some credit, and went out there and opened up accounts and actually did all these crazy things. Have you had any kind of experiences like that?
A little bit similar, I guess, on a much smaller scale. That sounds, I can't even imagine. But I had 2 of my credit cards stolen in 1 week, and a few $1,000s worth of charges put on those cards. And I wound up only paying I lost about $12 or something, because, my banks caught some unusual activity. They said, are you shopping online in India right now? And I said, as a matter of fact, I'm not, so you can go ahead and cancel those charges. I don't need whatever they're buying.
Pretty interesting. India. Wow. Right
Yeah.
over there, and they had your information.
Yeah, no, my card went a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think would be some viable, and I know you're not in the industry per se yet, but for that particular, just some practical things we could do to prevent that? What do you think?
Yeah, so they used a lot of, just kind of baseline, I guess, the way that you normally use your card and heuristics. They were able to take a look at those things and determine that this was quite an unusual transaction. And so I think companies just using those kind of smart ways to figure out, if you use your card in one place and 1,000 miles away within an hour or so, obviously that wasn't you. So just kind of the heuristics and being able to apply different kinds of filters and things like that to find out what is the anomalous activity. And it's not perfect, but it gets pretty good at finding those unusual occurrences.
See, I like that idea, doing it from, through the bank and the entity that controls that. But I also like to be a little bit more proactive myself in terms of what I'm doing, and I've been pretty successful recently. The bank doesn't really like it, but periodically I just report the card lost or stolen or damaged, right? And so what that does is it creates a whole new number, so I don't keep the same card debit-wise for very long. One other thing that I do, and I'm not going to take the show from you, but I'm just going to share some things, is the main debit card to my main checking account, I never really swipe that debit card. I have another debit card on a separate checking account that I can actually transfer funds to. So per transaction, if I'm going to make a transaction, I'm going to pay something off a debit card for $1,400, say. I transfer maybe $1,500 to that account. I make the transaction to the card, and then it's it. So if that card's compromised, the worst that could happen is it could be, rather, it has overdraft protection, but right now I have a setting on it to where if the money's not in there, it's not going to go through.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think banks have done a really good job of being able to give people those kind of features to protect themselves. I know you can turn your card on and off,
Right.
Through your phone right now. Just go into the app and
turn it off.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I mean, just following, that's a big security principle right there. Compartmentalization. Just trying to, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't keep everything important by what you're just using right now. So. And it's real easy to transfer, I guess.
Yeah,
so
you transfer funds right there on your same app that you're talking about. Another thing I've done is buy prepaid, and it's not as cost effective, but you can buy prepaid debit cards or credit cards, if you will, and maybe it's got $500 on it, and you use that to make transactions. If that's compromised, then it's insured. They don't have anything connected to you and your name.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that there are a lot of those little tricks that definitely go a long way. So.
Okay. So thanks a lot for that. Right now, we're just going to take a real quick commercial break. We're here with New Cyber Frontier with Lieutenant John Johnson, and he's here for the cyber outreach, really trying to get people who are interested to come into the Air Force, and more specifically up to the Air Force Academy to become officers of cyber and to make really sound decisions and bring great ideas to the Air Force. So right now we're just going to go quick break. We'll be right back in New Cyber Frontier.
We'll be right back with the rest of today's show right after these brief messages from our sponsors. Cyber Resilience Institute helps build strong cyber communities designed to prevent members from attack. Like building a neighborhood watch, it takes coordination and a sharing community to protect our identities and valuables in the virtual world. Typically, we hear that organizations know they need to do something to protect their cyber assets, but don't know where to begin. Let Cyber Resilience Institute help your community create an action plan. Cyber Resilience Institute will build your community or business marketplace so that it is designed to support a collective cyber defense. Contact them for more information at cyberresilienceinstitute.org.
We're back here right quick with Lieutenant John Johnson. He's actually an officer in the Air Force right now, and he's doing a cyber outreach for people who are interested in becoming cyber officers. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'd like to also thank the facility here, Secure Set, for allowing us to use their facility. I'm Andre Hinton. I'm filling in for Abe Thompson and Chris Gorak today. I want to thank them for the opportunity to be here in their office. And we're going to talk a little bit more to Lieutenant Johnson real quick, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what he's here for and what he's trying to accomplish, and we'll just ask some more questions about what he's up to. So we'll talk a little bit more about candidates and right now what your experience was at the academy. Let's talk a little bit about that. A lot of people, as you're reaching out, I think sometimes now there's a fear out there that I've seen with guys out there who could be potential candidates, like, oh man, if I go to the academy, my life's over, right?
I'm still here.
I'm not gonna have a life. Like, I'm not gonna be able to live. Like, I'm just gonna be in a hole down there. You never hear from them, So let's dispel some of those things, and let them know that you're still here. Right, so apparently they don't do anything to you that you can't come back from.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, if I can make it through, then then I guarantee you can too.
Okay.
So I mean, it is a fairly rigorous program for sure. There's a lot more than just school when you go to the academy, because you also have that military aspect. Physical fitness is something that they stress there, and then also a large emphasis on developing leaders of character. So when you kind of put all those things into your daily routine, you start to take up a lot of time. So you're not quite gone from the world, but you do have a lot more responsibilities than when you were in high school. So I can see why some people would be fearful of that. But honestly, as much as your time is taken up with these kind of things, you should be able to find a lot of enjoyment in them, because hopefully you're able to pursue things that you love and things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do at other places. So for me, it was being able to be part of a team at the academy, to learn cybersecurity, as well as using some of my breaks to either go out to classes and learn more, or some of our other partners in the DoD. But also there are people who really enjoy our airmanship programs and things like that. So if you're spending most of your day down at the airfield flying, that's not necessarily the worst thing to be taking up your day. Or jumping out of airplanes. If that's something you like to do, I don't know why it would be, but certainly not the worst use of a day. So I do expect people to be busy, but hopefully you find things there that are kind of unique to some of the opportunities we provide. You might not have at other places, but you can use your time to really enjoy those things.
Right. I'm not one of those guys or proponents to talk about cons. I only talk about pros.
Yeah.
Right? So some of the pros I would guess to making the academy is, of course, you get a great career in the Air Force. You're an officer, and that leads to a lot of other opportunities. So with that said, what are some of the other pros that you've actually experienced at the academy that you could say, hey, these are great pros and perks?
Well, one, I think, is just the people you get to work with, because everyone there is very dedicated, and you all have this same kind of purpose, and you feel part of something much bigger than yourself. So just that camaraderie and being able to be a part of that is something I always really enjoyed. That atmosphere I thought it was a really great place to go to school and feel that. Obviously, yeah, like you said, going into the Air Force as an officer is a great career. Having done it for about 3 months now, I guess. But I mean, you can be part of so many different things where, if you want to go to one of the, so I guess how do I put it? There are a lot of opportunities for you to further your education and further your experience. So, for example, I had 2 internships where I went to the National Security Agency. So, I mean, those kind of opportunities to be able to go to other DoD partners and things like that, you really get a lot of chances to pursue what you're interested in. And so SANS training was something else I got to do through the academy.
Sweet.
Which are, they're really good courses, and I got to learn more about penetration testing, which was what I focused on there. So, I mean, just the ability to take advantage of a lot of different things.
So here at New Cyber Frontier, we really focus more on the cyber aspect, and that's what you do. Of course, you're a cyber officer, and you're doing the cyber outreach, which is fantastic. You mentioned offline something about DEF CON and some of the other opportunities that people who are out here in our podcast who are listening. Of course, a lot of people are already in the career field who are listening to us. Some of these people may even have kids, right, who aspire to do what dad's doing or even more, right? So with that said, you mentioned something about DEF CON and some of the other things and pretty cool things that you've had to do. What are some of those things more specifically that you can say, hey, you get to do this cool stuff too?
Definitely. So I've gone to DEF CON for the past 2 years, which is quite a place for cybersecurity nerds, because it's just the best hackers from all over the world coming and talking about what they do. And usually I get the first 15 minutes or so of each presentation, and then I sit there for the next half hour just kind of listening to what they're saying but not really understanding. So it's a really great place with really high level stuff. But also, so I mentioned the SANS courses, my internships. Also, we do have something else from SANS. It's called Cyber City, which it's just a little model city with real controllers for all the different elements. So the lights, there's a little railroad around it. They have a mock UAV that goes around the city. Some of the other lights in there that you can actually try to hack into. So even though it's a tiny little model city, the controllers, the PLCs and things like that are real. So you can connect to that network, try to hack into these devices, and change what the street lights have on them. And there are different scenarios where maybe you have to change the street lights so a car goes a certain way.
Oh, wow.
And things like that. So that's a cool little thing that they have in the department. There are also, there's like a UAV lab that we have there where people who are interested in that kind of thing can go into. We also have specifically looking at a Mac lab for iOS devices and things like that.
Okay.
We do things with robotics, artificial intelligence. We have a few different robots that we use there, mostly for outreach, trying to show off the kind of different opportunities that we have. The robots travel around and they do cool little dances, which get kids interested in the program. But then also we have cadets program them for various uses. So a lot of different things that I've gotten to work with just over 4 years. And like I said, so I mentioned my internship over at the National Security Agency, but we do all kinds of different ones with other government organizations as well as private industry. So we have people go to the NRO, as well as I think U.S. Cyber Command. And for the private industry side, I mean, Facebook was a really popular one, Palo Alto, things like that. So there's a lot of different opportunities to work kind of wherever you're most interested.
If you're out there and you're listening to this podcast right now, you're interested in cyber, you're interested in doing something in cyber and being a cybersecurity officer, we've got Lieutenant John Johnson right here at New Cyber Frontier. You probably hadn't heard him anywhere else, so this is exclusive. So right now we've got him here, but what I want to take some time out to do right now is, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. Secondly, give us some information, this audience, and some information if they are out there, if they're interested in actually getting involved and becoming a cybersecurity officer, how can they reach you? Information they can give someone else, like how can they reach you and be a part of this?
Yeah, so definitely. Like I said, I'm mostly looking to try to find high school students who are interested in coming to the academy, but I'm also very interested in finding anyone who is interested in going into the Air Force to help out in the cyber career field. So easiest way to contact me is just through my email, which is john.johnson@usafa.edu, and JOHNSON for my name. And so just send me an email, or you can even call me at 719-333-3941.
Okay, awesome. Well, you got his information. If you're out there and you want to be into the cyber industry, and he said a lot of cool things you can do, and just to get started, if you're out there in some kind of like industry and you're serving, donuts somewhere or coffee, and now you want to get into an amazing hot field like cybersecurity, and you want to be a cybersecurity officer, contact Lieutenant John Johnson, and he gave you his information. You can listen to this podcast. We're going to take a second for our last sponsor. And we'd like to give a shout out to Abe and Chris Gorok, Abe Thompson and Chris Gorok, for allowing me to have this opportunity here at New Cyber Frontier. We'd also like to give a shout out to this facility at Secure Set, this amazing facility. It's awesome. They actually brought some coffee and bagels in here. So without further ado, we wanted to like to thank you again, Lieutenant Johnson, for joining us.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
The views or opinions expressed during this podcast are not those of Colorado Technical University.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of New Cyber Frontier. Remember to get involved. Often we think that someone else will handle privacy and security in the virtual world, but you are the only one truly in command of your virtual fate. Join our mailing list so we can keep you informed of breaking news and new releases. If you have an idea, if you have a question that you would like to hear answered, or if you want to get involved with our efforts, reach out to us at newcyberfrontier.com. We also encourage you to visit our sponsors' links, as they are the ones that really make this show possible. I want to thank each of you for supporting the show, and we look forward to seeing you back for the next episode of New Cyber Frontier.